Well, I'll share something. I didn't ride during the pandemic. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. And I had heard nightmares about how they were short on cabs and drivers, and cabs were really late. But I've been riding cabs the last few months, and if anything, they've been early. It's been really nice. So I just say thank you.
Does anyone else have comment they would like to give?
Alexa.
Joe, we heard you for a second. Are you there?
Yes.
Yes. Do you have comments you want to give?
I said Alexa and my Echo Dot went off. I have two comments. The first one is, again, like some of the previous callers have said, I really appreciate and enjoy the service that STAR has provided over the years. I wish, though, that when we ask questions at the meetings, that we could get answers. And it seems like it started with Mr. Leach and there's kind of some background noise there. I wish someone would mute, please. Whether Mr. Jones or Miss Rivers, we never get any answers. And I think Mr. Kaiser can attest to that. And we continuously request that we be your partners. And in no way do we want to be your adversaries, but we need answers to our questions. That would really be appreciated. And then in previous meetings, both Diamond and Red Top and all the carriers were present. So if there was an issue, we could work it out at the time of the meeting. For whatever reason, the county has stopped inviting the providers. I would hope that Ms. Wang, in her new capacity, would reinstate those individuals as an intricate part of our meeting. That way, if there are problems that arise, all the advocates and whoever else is on the call can initiate the conversation and hopefully come to a reasonable resolution. That is no longer happening for whatever reason. And again, I hope we can get answers to our questions. Otherwise, it's kind of a fruitless attempt for us to be on these calls. Thank you.
Do we have anyone else who'd like to give comment?
Alexa?
I'm not hearing anyone for the moment.
Alexa?
May I ask who's speaking?
It's Kent.
Yes, Ken. Did you have comment you want to give?
Can I make it later? I'm in the middle of a transfer right now.
So you're saying that you want us to go on with the agenda and then you'll let us know when you're ready? Is that?
Yes, ma'am, if that's possible, please.
Okay, I don't want you to miss your chance to give comment, so I think we should be able to do that. Does anybody else have public comment that they want to give before we go on to approval of the January minutes?
Yes, this is Bonnie Ryan. Can you hear me okay? I'm deaf, so I can't hear myself, but I think the captions are working.
I can hear you.
Okay. Well, I was a STAR writer in 2005, over 10 years ago, and moved back to the area. And one of the things that I'd like them to think about is that while I was waiting, which was over the 30-day statutory limit, while I was waiting for Metro Access to reprocess my renewed eligibility, I was able on a temporary basis to book rides, but not with STAR for any, there was a purpose restriction on to just medical. And I'd like them to revisit that policy because it seems like it's a situation that's out of our control. We're waiting on Metro access, and temporary eligibility should include a lack of purpose restriction on those rides that we must schedule during that waiting period, which is actually was over the statutory limit for the 30 days. So it was like 45 or more, actually. So I'd like to have a comment on that because I was, injured in November and had many appointments, physical therapy, etc., that were medically oriented. But I also would have liked to gone to church for my spiritual well-being. And that was not allowed under the current STAR policy while in temporary status. Thank you.
So Bonnie, this is while someone is applying who is temporarily disabled, or I'm just trying to make sure that I understand exactly what policy you're commenting on here.
Thank you. Necessary clarification. No. This is not temporary disability. It was permanent disability. It was permanently disabled. I was actually part of this STAR advisory committee back when STAR just started. I was permanently disabled, but I just added another disability, a mobility disability, to my array of disabilities. And but I was out of state, and I came back to reinstate my eligibility. And that goes through, as you know, goes through Metro Access. They're supposed to make a 30-day determination. They were behind on processing. And so then I got a temporary eligibility status. That's what we're talking about. And with Metro Access, there wasn't under that time frame while they were still deciding, and I had temporary eligibility. I did not have a restriction on the purpose of trip, but with STAR, I did. STAR said that while you're only temporary eligibility pending Metro Access providing you a card, you would only be able to book medical-oriented rides.
Okay. That definitely sounds like a policy that could be looked at to me. Do we have anybody else that wants to give comment, or shall we move on to the minutes?
Madam Chair, this is Doris Ray from ECNV. I was wondering if I could have a moment.
You can give comment if you'd like, yes.
Yes, okay. First place, I wanted to say I didn't raise my hand because when I tried to do that using the protocols for Teams, it didn't work, and I don't know why. So what I wanted to comment on was that I think the work that your committee is doing is very, very important now for citizens of Arlington County, particularly people with disabilities who are unable to drive and are reliant on ADA complementary paratransit because they either for all trips or some trips aren't able to use fixed route. So because I think it's an important meeting, I want to comment that I think it would be helpful for the consumers involved, particularly people with disabilities who have jobs, to set the meeting time for this meeting later, like other boards and commissions, say 7, so that people who would be in transit from work or whatever they were doing during the day can potentially be involved in your meeting. And also, I wanted to ask a question. The question is, I've gotten reports that there may be a new proposal for changes in STAR already up on the website. I want to clarify whether that's the old proposals from last year or whether there is actually something new that's out for comment. Thank you for the opportunity, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Doris. Does anyone else have comment to give? Okay, I know I'm here and Herschel is here, so I don't know. Is that enough of us to approve the minutes, or can we not do that since we don't have Laura?
Alexa,
Kent has his
sorry.
hand raised.
Yeah, it's,
Kent, are you ready to give your comment?
yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Well, first, I agree with Ms. Ray's comments and questions, as well as Mr. DePhillips. We haven't gotten answers as far back as September, when Ms. Rivers promised that she would send them. And I don't understand why we're repeatedly told this, that we will get answers, at least responses, and we don't get it. Can I ask why that is?
I don't know if we're going to get an answer this second, but do we have anybody else who wants to give comment, or do we want to move on? I mean, I definitely share your concern, Kent, and I definitely would like for staff to give some information on what the process is going to be for this. I had not heard what Doris mentioned, that there's apparently something else on the website. So I don't know if it's an old thing that has been on the website or not, but I definitely share that question. And so I will, if staff don't give the answers to both of those questions during the meeting, I will definitely ask them myself and make a note that, we really want to know, what's happening with the process. We know that things have been delayed because a lot of people have left and a lot of people are new, but we want to make sure what is going to happen. I'm not quite sure what that echo is.
Me neither. But also wanting to point out to the subcommittee members that Channel 7 locally here, news, did a story, and evidently it's going to be an ongoing story. They're trying to get answers from county staff about the lack of service STAR has been providing in stranding people, whether away or at home. And so I would ask you to, if you don't find that on the web, I can send you the clip. And in addition, I would call to your attention an article that was in the Independent Center of Northern Virginia's January-February newsletter, and hope that you would read that and be able to respond to us the next meeting if you haven't seen that already. But these outstanding issues, us being literally ripped apart by these outlandish proposals, they then are just withdrawn into the ether. And we're never again told what's happening, where they're going to be, when it's going to be, what it's going to be. It's not fair to people who depend upon STAR as a lifeline. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kent. Does anyone else have a comment, or shall we go on?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Lynn.
yes, if I could just respond to the two questions that came up. One I heard was about the proposals that are on the website. The proposed policy changes that were made last spring are still the same. Nothing has changed. And we are in the process of preparing public outreach so that the entire community will be able to understand what those proposals are, and we want to get feedback. So there's nothing that has changed with regards to the policy, the proposed policies, other than we've just paused it until we got our staffing back and are ready to roll it out to the public. And I've also shared that with our board members that we anticipate over the next couple of months that we will start noting when public engagement will begin to start talking about the proposed. And again, these are proposals. There's nothing that's changed at all. And I think the other question from Mr. Keyser, I had noted at the last meeting that I had responded to an email actually that came from Ms. Ashby, and he was copied on back in last September. That was responded to, and so hopefully, and sent a second time. So hopefully, if they've not been received, then maybe I need to get, hopefully there's nothing wrong with the email addresses, and I can check offline on that as well.
Madam Chairman, if I may, in response, I was not
Briefly,
referring
yes.
to that letter. I was referring to the comments made in the September subcommittee meeting that you assured me would be responded to. I never got a response to that, nor to my comments in the January meeting.
I haven't seen anything either. Lynn, is that about this pause that has happened? Because I do recall, oh, everything will be responded to and it will all be transparent. And I certainly haven't seen, an email outlining what's going to happen when, or if there are, sounds like we know at this point, the new bit of information that we have is that the proposals are not changing. They are going forward as they were proposed by previous staff.
That is correct.
Okay. So it's good to know what the proposals are going to be. I do just want to flag that, there has been a lot of comment and there have been a lot of things that people have, had to say about concerns that they have about the proposals. So I hope that this is just about the pause and this is not about, hey, people have been talking about this, people have been looking at this, people have been talking about parts of it that don't make sense to them. I hope that hasn't been, ignored or discarded, and that you do have all of that, and that whoever the new staff are, they are looking at that and they are up to speed on that.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Doris.
Yes, I just wondered, as a member of the public representing disability organization here in Arlington, and others might also be interested, NVRC or Northern Virginia Resource Center for Deaf and Hard of Hearing Persons, or United Spinal, or other advocacy organizations, and other members of the community. I'm wondering whether there is a posted place for, I noticed this is being recorded. I'm wondering if there's a posted place for recordings of these meetings like other advisory committees and the boards and commissions are doing regularly, and if not, whether...
That is a good question. I actually don't know what the procedure is as far as recording right now. And I don't know if there's different, if it's different between commissions that report to the county manager versus commissions that report to the board. But yeah, I do think that posting the recordings makes sense if that is in line with what other commissions do.
Or at least posting minutes that have been developed, like the Pedestrian Advisory Commission, committee, I believe, posts their stuff, and others that the Disability Commission is working with, and things that I see coming through the Housing Commission from some of the committees that report to them.
Well, again, part of my concern today.
I hope your committee will vote to do, to post the minutes and responses. And in fact, at WMATA, the responses to the Metro Access Subcommittee meetings are made available to at least to members of the committee, if not to the public.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing from staff right now, for good or for ill, is that they want people participating in a particular public comment process that they're going to open up when they have these hearings and such. And again, I unfortunately have no more information about that other than, what Lynn is bringing, which is it's coming, which is the thing that, we heard the last time. So, I very much hope that, it is coming, but I do want to know, now that it's been brought up, about, how recordings work and if and when recordings are posted. So that is something I would like to know as well.
Madam Chair, just quickly, because I know we've got some other presentations. And I've put in the chat a link to where the previous meeting was posted. It has been recorded. The last meeting was recorded and was put on the county's YouTube channel, and will be or is tied back to the subcommittee. So it is already posted.
Okay, so can you put that link in the chat?
It's the link is in the chat right now.
I unfortunately don't see anything in the chat other than a comment from Bonnie Ryan asking about the agenda. So I don't know why, but I don't see a link in the chat.
Okay, I just posted it. Let me see how I can get it to open. But if we could move to the next meeting, because I know we have a follow-up meeting after this. And I think the next order of business.
Yeah, it does look like that is posted in the chat. I do realize that that is probably not the best way for folks who are blind and visually impaired to access it. So I would like to know, okay, so that is on the county's YouTube. Can we maybe put information about where to find that, maybe in our minutes or something, so that when our minutes go around, folks that can't easily access the chat can have a chance to access that?
Absolutely.
Madam Chair, this is Roseanne. I do have a comment that if I may, I'll be very brief.
Okay, we are half an hour into the meeting, so yeah, please be brief.
I will. So I just want to go on record as stating that this is the first time I've heard Lynn say that the proposals that were out last year are the ones that are going to be discussed during this process of public engagement. When Mr. Jones was here, and I recognize he's gone, when he was here, he indicated that the county was working on some alternate ideas and things that they thought would be, other options that we might prefer or might comment on. So this is the first time we've been told that the proposals that were issued last spring are the ones that will be commented on during public comment.
That is what it seems to me as well. I was not sure whether new proposals were being worked on or whether that was up in the air, but it definitely sounds like, you know, a decision has been made to put those particular proposals forward. So I am definitely hearing that for the first time as well.
And if Miss Rivers could watch
Alexa.
the, if
we are over half an hour into the meeting, so I don't believe that I can allow people to give more comment. I do realize that is a new revelation and that is a big deal. But
Alexa,
I don't know that we have time to have everyone comment on that now. I know we have some people that have been patiently waiting to present. So once again, my question is, Lynn, do we skip over the minutes since Laura's not here?
No, you do have a quorum. There's 3 members on the committee, and you and Mr. Cantor can approve the minutes.
Okay, how do you feel about the minutes, Herschel?
Fine.
All right, I'm fine with them as well, so I think that handles that. All right, so now we have some presentations. We have a proposed taxi rate increase.
Thank you. Clinton, are you bringing the presentation, or do you want me to bring the presentation?
I can bring it up.
Okay, I wasn't sure since you asked me for it. I wasn't sure if you want. I can do it if you want me to, or whatever.
Sure, please go ahead and pull it up
Okay.
if you are able. Thank you.
Sure. 1 second. All right. Can everybody see my screen?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll try to spell out all the information that it's in here. So good evening. This is the 2023 taxi cab rate of fare. We're advertising a rate increase under Chapter 25.1. And with me is Brian Shelton, who will be helping me present tonight. We're following the taxi cab ordinance, which is Section 25.1 of the Arlington County Code, sets the rates of fare for the taxi cab industry on a biennial basis. The county board approval is required, and the county board will hear this item at the RTA on April 22, with adoption at the May 13th county board meeting. The taxi cab industry is requesting a change in taxi cab fares starting July 1, 2023 to adjust for cost of living increases since the last rate occurred in 2016. The fact that rates have not kept up with inflation impacts the industry, and it cannot competitively recruit drivers. The county manager is proposing the following rate increase. The initial drop will go from $3 to $3.50, and the per mile will go from $2.16 to $2.40. I want to give you a picture of how the companies that are regulated under Arlington County Authority and the numbers that they have for vehicles. So Hess has a total number of vehicles of 35. Arlington Yellow has also 35. Crown has a total of 37. Friendly has 39. Blue Top has a total of 100, and wheelchair accessible is 19. Red Top has a total of 195. Wheelchair is 20. The total number of wheelchair accessible vehicles for the county authorized are 39. I just want to point out that this year, for example, Blue Top just dropped 36 vehicles authorized to operate in the county. The peak, which it was 2017, the county had a total of 847 authorized vehicles and 97 total authorized vehicles, wheelchair vehicles. I just realized. So I just want to point out that the number of vehicles is decreasing every year with competition from transportation network companies. That means Uber and Lyft. And I'm going to pass it on to Brian.
All right, thanks, Angie. If you can go to the next slide.
All
right.
All right, there you go.
All right, so to support the proposed rate increase for the taxi cab companies, we ran two tests. The first, we pulled consumer price index data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. What we were looking for was to identify the changes in the cost of doing business as a taxi driver. What the slide is showing is that there has been a change from 2016 at the last increase rate or rate increase to January 2023. Total cost of operating in 2016 was $1,305. The cost of operating business in January of 2023 is $1,804. So across the board and in line with what we're hearing in the news since the start of the pandemic, due to inflation and other issues, prices are on the rise, which is reflected in the table. Overall, the findings indicate that the cost for operators has increased by 38% since 2016. Some of the largest contributors to the cost increase were the increase in fuel costs of 78%, the increase in the insurance costs at 39%, the increase in maintenance and repair costs at 38%, and the increase of cost of living costs at 26%. And these increases have been marked since 2016. Go to the next slide, Angie. So here we have the current fare and proposed fare in the trip distance of 5, 10, and 25 miles. For every 5 miles currently, the fare is $13.80. The new proposed fare will increase to $15.50, a difference of $1.70. For 10-mile trips, the current fare is $24.60. The proposed fare is $27.50, the difference of $2.90. And for a trip distance of 25 miles, so it'd be about from Courthouse to the Dulles Airport, that'd be the current fare is $57 and the proposed fare is $63.50. It's a difference of $6.50. Next slide. Currently, Arlington County has, what we're doing now is discussing the rate comparison from our neighboring jurisdictions. Arlington County has some of the lowest initial charges in or compared to our neighboring jurisdictions at $3. Other jurisdictions have rate or drop charges of $4 and $3.50. The proposed fare would be $3.50 for entering into the cab, what is the drop fare, and also an increase to 40 cents for each additional 1/6 of a mile, which makes a $2.40 per mile fare. The rates will be, after the rate fare increase, will be the most expensive in the region. But it's important to note here that, like Arlington County, other jurisdictions have not raised their rates in the last 7 to 10 years. And we are finding that some jurisdictions are exploring the possibility of increasing their rates as well. This is happening in Alexandria. They just increased their drop fare to $4, and they are currently discussing increasing the distance charge later this year. And here is a visualization of the proposed fare comparison with the neighboring jurisdictions. The current fare rate for Arlington County is that first bar in blue. You can see for the cost for a 5-mile trip, it's just about in line with the other jurisdictions. The proposed fare in orange is that second bar. It is going to be slightly higher than the other jurisdictions. The cost for a 10-mile trip, for example, this would be from Courthouse to Tyson's Galleria. The Arlington County fare in the blue, which is the first column, is about in line with the other counties. and other jurisdictions. The orange bar, which is the county proposed fare, would be slightly higher than the other jurisdictions. And the cost for a 25-mile trip, the Arlington County, the current fare is in the blue, the first column there. It's in line with the other jurisdictions. And the proposed fare, the orange bar, it is slightly above the other jurisdictions. Next slide. We also wanted to see what the competition was doing. So during the course or over the month of January, we made 912 individual observations using the Uber and Lyft app to gauge minimum prices, maximum prices, and typical prices to destinations similarly ranged in 5, 10, and 25 miles. And what we were able to observe is that the taxi fare, the proposed taxi fare, would be one of the cheapest ways to get around for all destinations from 0 miles to 5 miles. At 10 miles, the proposed taxi fare would fall in between the Uber and Lyft, the minimum fare and the maximum fare. And at a distance of 25 miles, the proposed taxi fare would be higher than the minimum fare and slightly higher than the Uber fare, but less than the Lyft fare.
And this is the county manager's recommendation, authorize an advertisement of a public hearing by the county board on May 14th to consider an increase in the drop from 3 to 350 and 1/6 of a mile from 36 cents to 40 cents under chapter 25.1 of the Arlington County Code. Adjustments in rates of fare to be effective July 1st, 2023. And this concludes our presentation. If anybody has any questions.
So I'm interested in the part where it says that the longer trip is actually going to be a little less expensive than Lyft, but a little more expensive than Uber. I'm just kind of curious about that because I wonder whether people would be interested in preferring to take a taxi than an Uber in that case. So I'm a little curious about that one, is my only thought.
Brian, do you want to take that since you did all the research?
Sure.
And apologies, I'm having a computer problem, so I don't know if you can pull it up. It's not bringing the presentation to me.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I just recall that bar was a little longer than Uber and less than Lyft. So I hope I'm seeing correctly, but that's what I recall.
Sure, I think I just fixed it. I just restart okay. Brian, do you want to go ahead and take the?
Right, so we're looking at the 25-mile distance trip. So this would be from about Courthouse to the Dulles Airport. And so what we have here, we have the minimum fare for Uber, which is marked in this light blue, the minimum fare for Lyft, which is in this light orange. And then we have the proposed taxi fare be about $63. The maximum fare for Uber is about $60, and that is going to the airport. And then the maximum fare for Lyft it's about $78. And what we noticed, at least when tracking the Uber and Lyft prices, was that they varied quite a bit. The prices that were showing the maximum fares, those are the prices that we were able to capture going to the airport from Courthouse at a peak travel time. Uber and Lyft, they have the ability to change their prices as demand changes and supply changes as well. This is something that the taxi fare or the taxi companies are unable to do. And so with those, you'll see the most expensive trips, they occur, for example, during rush hour. They also occur when we found these prices were during the Super Bowl, when a number of people could have been requesting trips going to places to watch the Super Bowl, which puts pressure, puts pressure on the Uber and Lyft companies to provide rides. There are a number of other fares and a number of other charges that taxis and the TNCs, which are Uber and Lyft, can add to a trip going to the airport, like an airport surcharge, and also toll fares, which can increase the cost of the trip. In our conversations with the taxi cab companies, we found that a majority of the trips that they offer, or complete, I should say, are within that 1 to 10 mile range. And the 25-mile trip isn't necessarily their bread and butter. You have to also consider that with the completion of the Metro rail stations out to the Dulles Airport, there is some competition for more affordable rates.
Fair enough. I know it is getting on towards 6, and we have some more stuff to get through. So does anybody
Madam
else have
Chair.
any more questions about that presentation?
Madam Chair, I do.
Doris, please be brief.
Yes. I was wondering if the staff could indicate how much the of the fare goes to the driver, and how much of the fare goes in surcharges to the drivers. What I mean is the rental of the taxis and any other charges like insurance and whatever needs to be paid to the driver, as well as the fee that the companies are charging the drivers for the trips and the use of the dispatch and all. It is, as I understand it, very considerable. And I would ask also the staff, since the taxi company, at least the biggest taxi company, Old Dominion, Yellow and Red Top, and all of its versions, are now under a remote, not a locally situated centralized dispatch. There have been excessive waits for taxi service for the customer. Why should any Arlington County or other resident of another county who's working or traveling in Arlington County be in favor of any increase to the taxi companies at this time until they get their act together? Waiting up to 2 hours during the evening, a weekday evening, for a taxi ride, I say, is excessive. And so I want to know why we should be in favor of this at all until they clean up their act, frankly. And I think
don't know whether
that your
staff
committee
really has time to answer such a big question for you right now, Doris. Does anybody want to take that briefly, or do we need to?
I'll try to be brief. Hi, Ms. Ray. I remember from our previous conversations, the drivers are independent contractors. They basically pay some sort of rent to the companies in order to utilize the vehicle and the name and so on. And so all the money that is made goes directly to the driver. And then the driver pays some sort of rent to the companies. But the money from all the fares go directly to.
There's also a 6% surcharge on every credit card that's used, in addition to all of that. And by the way, the daily and weekly rates are extraordinarily high.
Well, one of the issues, though, is the county cannot insert itself in the contracts between the companies and the independent contractors. So it's hard for us to regulate that part. In terms of the credit card, I believe that was back when we did the study in 2014, 2015. Nowadays, there's better rates. I can't speak for the rates. I haven't done the research on that front, but I understand that it's not as a big thing. And now we have PayPals and other ways of payments. Regarding the waiting times, the hack inspector at the police department has not received any complaints in terms of waits. We do know that it is hard for the companies to attract drivers. Drivers are going to other jobs such as bus school driving and things like that because they make more money. The rates have not kept up with inflation. We haven't changed them since 2016, and nobody wants to be a taxi driver because they don't make any money. And that's my quick response. I hope I answer.
Okay, I know that there is a metric report and we have about 3 minutes, so I'm not sure if folks want to try to do that very quickly or if we want to talk about that at the next meeting or how we want to do this.
Alexa, it's Kim.
Madam Chair, can I suggest that we move forward with the current schedule? We do wanted to respond with the metric report because this was a request that came at the last meeting with regards to getting performance information. So we just wanted to show that we responded to that.
Okay.
And also just wanted to also note that this was an information item to share with the subcommittee so that everyone is aware of the request to advertise that will be coming from the county manager. And I'll also note that this does not have an impact on the STAR user as far as paying for service. And so again, we wanted to make sure that the subcommittee was aware of what was to come. And so I would suggest if we could move forward with the STAR metrics.
Yes, I know folks have comments. I know folks want to comment, but we are literally a minute from when this meeting is supposed to adjourn. We really don't have time. So, I hope that if you have more comments, you will perhaps send them to me. If you send them to me and to everyone else, then I will be able to see any responses. So I'll be able to know, if folks are being responded to.
Hello again, everyone. This is Quentin Edwards, Transit Services Manager. Displayed on the screen right now are those service metrics reports. As Lynn mentioned earlier, you may be familiar with this format at the request of the committee and the attendees of the meeting. They are in the format that are similar to what you're familiar with Metro Access. In the essence of time, I'll just point you to 3 of these metrics. You'll see as a percentage of trips delivered, 91% as far as the on-time pickups for the month of January 2023. Telephone response time, our call center is doing a great job. They're able to get everyone's calls answered within 10 seconds or less. And then complaints, per 1,000 trips requested, we are averaging 2.3 complaints for every 1,000 trips requested for the month of January. Both presentations along with this metric will be posted on the accessibility website, and a copy of this will be in the meeting minutes so that you can digest this further and pull it apart and ask any further questions. Madam Chair, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, is that the entirety of the presentation?
Yes, these are just as a information piece. There was a request to have the metrics, so we just wanted to provide these metrics here for everyone for their consumption.
Okay, I'm trying to remember. I know people had asked for specific metrics. I'm trying to remember what they were. I believe one of them had to do with when something is counted as a customer no-show versus when something is counted as the cab. I don't know if that is captured in the no-show data that's presented here. So one of the things that I'm wondering is if the folks that were asking for that, does this information give what you actually wanted, or is there more more breakdown that you wanted on this one? All right, I'm not hearing anything. So
Are you allowing us to ask questions now?
If you want to be very brief and ask one question, and please don't make it 3 questions attached to each other.
Sure. I think you're referring to the issue of cancellations, when trips are canceled, and what is comprised in there, especially if a cab or a van doesn't show up, and is that considered a trip cancellation, and is that included as a customer cancellation?
Or excessive waits beyond the vehicle window, the window for showing up. Like hour waits or more are considered illegal under the ADA.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
This is Paul D'Addario, and the initial question I wanted to associate myself with what Kent was just saying. We had asked for a category, instead of one that simply says cancellation, that there be indicated cancellation by the provider because they didn't come, they couldn't find a cab, couldn't find a vehicle, or cancellation by the person making the initial request.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. That doesn't look like it's on this table unless I'm interpreting this table incorrectly. I do see late pickups as a percentage of trips delivered and excessively late as a percentage of trips delivered. So I think that, I'm not sure if I'm looking at this correctly, but I'm wondering if that might have been an attempt to answer that particular question.
As far as I understand the process, there's no way to know, because if, for example, in the instances that happened to me when I was stranded, Red Top canceled the call, but they don't have a way, as far as I know, of sending statistics to Star or whoever they have to send them to that says anything beyond cancellation. And cancellation could be for at least one of 2 reasons. One, the customer canceled, or the provider canceled. And I submit if the provider cancels, they're not providing service living up to their contract.
I agree with you, but if you're saying that they don't provide that information to Star, then how would Star know to give us that information?
They should be required to keep track of that, just like they keep track of cancellations. Red Top keeps track of cancellations.
Is that something that staff keeps track of or not? I'm just trying to make sure that I understand exactly what's being asked for and exactly what staff is providing.
So, Madam Chair, what we can do, I mean, this is again for information purposes, to share with the subcommittee based on what we heard at the last meeting. These are the exact metrics that Metro Access uses. And so this is what we are providing, and it's good to get feedback from the subcommittee to understand what more we can share. So again, this is just a first blush at what we're trying to respond to. And if I heard correctly, we want to make sure that we separate cancellations out from what the rider cancels and what the provider cancels. And
Yeah,
I believe we do have that
hearing.
information. So I want to make sure that we follow up on that.
Okay. I'm glad that was flagged.
Yeah, I've been raising my hand, but not getting acknowledged. I would just add that in the driver, provider cancellation, there'll be a breakout between the providers. For instance, you might find some performance metrics where, you know, there might be a difference between Red Top and Diamond, et cetera. And that would be helpful information in terms of improving and understanding, analyzing what percentage of this cancellation issue, which costs money and costs agita for the rider, you know, how to improve that. The mere saying there's so many cancellations gives no analytical framework for understanding how to improve performance. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Bonnie, and I'm sorry about that. Let's see what else. Let me just double check what else we have. I think that presentation was the last one, but let's see. Okay. I believe we had something about upcoming public outreach. I'm not sure if that's what you were speaking about earlier, Lynn, or something else.
Nope, it's exactly what I was speaking about earlier. It's just to let you know that we will be presenting a public engagement plan to discuss the proposals that have been discussed over the past year.
Okay. And so again, what I'm hearing tonight is that
I'm sorry, if we could get people to mute their computer. There we go. Now I think I can hear you better now.
Yeah, I was just reiterating that what we have heard tonight is basically that no changes have been made to the proposals that were on the website. So I also recalled that there had been, again, I don't know whether there was something else that was going to be proposed or whether people were just looking at it, but I recall something about that too. So it sounds like what we have heard tonight is that exactly what was proposed way back when is what we'll be commenting on. So I just want to, you know, flag that so that folks, you know, when the public comment does open, you know, I know some people have been working on comments based on, you know, the way those proposals looked. So, you know, folks may want to revisit that, considering that we're now hearing that there's not going to be any changes or alterations.
Absolutely, and that was the whole point, that
Madam
once we
Chair,
put the proposals out, we wanted people to be familiar with what we were suggesting. And the whole point of public outreach is to get reactions to what we were proposing, and to have those who use the system and those who may want to use the system to get feedback as well, to help influence and inform our thoughts about policy changes.
but Madam Chair, there was already testimony at this committee and other places indicating that the patrons were not in favor of those proposals, and my understanding was they were being withdrawn and that new proposals would come forth in light of the testimony given before.
That was my understanding as well.
That is not correct. We never had proposals. We did not put it on the table other than with the Transit Advisory Committee and the Accessibility Subcommittee. And that's our forum in sharing our policies.
I'm talking about, this is a public body. I'm talking about the public comment here at this subcommittee.
There was definitely public comment made about people really not liking these proposals. I don't think that Lynn is challenging that.
Correct.
I think there was an understanding under people that are no longer there anymore that it sounded like they wanted more time, like they were, I can only say what my impression was, but my impression was that they didn't realize it was going to go over as badly as it did, and that they were going to revisit it. Now that they're gone, I don't know exactly who has made this decision or why, but it sounds like it may just be, hey, we want the new people to start from what we'd already made. It may just be that. But, you know, I was also, I will say, hoping that some of the comments that people had made would influence what staff put forward. So I am disappointed too. Um, Again, my recommendation to people would be to go back to the original comments you made and just say, hey, you know, we told you that there were all these problems. You're still going ahead with this. These problems are still there. Since you're going ahead with what you said back then, nothing has been addressed. I mean, that's what my comment would be if you asked for my comment right this minute.
So let me just be clear on what our process is. Whenever we provide recommendations for changes or alterations in policies, we go through a public engagement process that starts with our committees, but has to be open to the entire public. And, you know, obviously we know the entire public does not attend our committee meetings. And so therefore we set up processes in which we try to engage as many people as possible, because we know lots of people have lots of opinions, and that's what we're trying to gain here. It was not our plan to change anything, but to share what we had researched, what we thought and suggest could be proposals, and then that we were going to carry it out. I think the biggest issue here has been just the timing of how all this happened. It happened last spring as an introduction, and as we were planning to move forward to the public, if you will, that's when things changed within our own staff and we put it on pause. So I just want people to understand that this has to go out to the public to understand. We're hoping that there are more voices that will come to the table and provide feedback, because again, the more voices we hear, the more it helps us to shape what we suggest need to be to provide better service. So I just wanted to clarify that our next step is public engagement that's outside of the committees, totally outside of the committee. But it also is a forum that we use for everything that we move forward in the public realm, in which we're going to impact a lot of people. So so just wanted to clarify that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Lynn. Bonnie, I see that your hand is up. If you want to be very brief, I'll give you a second, but I do have another meeting after this, and I would like to eat some dinner at some point. So feel free to talk briefly, but you know, I don't think we can litigate all of this tonight.
Thank you for your indulgence. Madam Chair, I just came across the survey and responding to it. I am a professional in this field of doing surveys. The surveys that you sent out, and I articulated that in my feedback, but there are definite flaws in the way that you have structured the survey itself, and which would make dubious or unclear at best the interpretation of the results. So I would suggest before you go out to the public that you tweak this with our input, that you use the feedback you've already received to tweak this form to make it more informative. There are interacting pieces that people would say, for example, if you want to extend the wait period for half an hour, but then on another question, you're talking about call outs being eliminated, for example. These are interacting pieces of the same, there's interacting pieces of the same issue. extending 30-minute from 15 to 30-minute wait, and at the same time, initiating the call out upon arrival rather than 5 minutes later. So I'm just saying that the survey that you have might have some constructive feedback, which you could use as a pilot program, more or less, to tweak the survey before it goes out to the public, because it's definitely flawed. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, let me see here. I believe that is everything that we had on the agenda.
10-second comment, please. 10-second comment. It's
Joe,
Joe. I just want to say, let me do 10 seconds, please. I just want to say again, I'm going to leave the meeting with no rationale provided as to why the providers are no longer invited to the meeting. I thought that was a reasonable question, but again, we get no answer. So thank you.
All right.
If Madam Chair, can I say that the proposals, if they're the same as they were, impose penalties on, which has never been done before, apparently, impose penalties on STAR patrons, including suspension, that have no appeal process for the public to look at, these proposals, that's why these proposals were protested, and that's why we understood that there was to be an open process. And I'd like to know personally, for whether in advertising the upcoming civic engagement, it will be done to the public, the whole disability community, both patrons of STAR and potential patrons of STAR and the organizations that represent them, or whether, as in the past, it would be done as only a public hearing as part of the budget process without even dedicated hearings on STAR. These are the issues that need to be addressed before this was published. Now it's being published again, and none of these issues have been dealt with. And so we need to know about the communications plan and the notice and how it will be given and how long we will have to prepare for hearings and such. So I hope that you can do that. And the side, Madam Chair, is to ask you, I think everybody's going to the TAC meeting. Can somebody send out to any of us interested the connect information for the TAC meeting itself? Thank you.
Can staff do that, or do folks need me to do that?
I think
can staff do that, or do y'all need me to do that?
I think we can add the link to the chat.
Okay, but bear in mind that a lot of the people that are attending.
The chat is no good for some people who are blind and vision impaired. So I think you need to stop using it. The Housing Commission is no longer using it. The Disability Commission is not using it because of the FOIA. It's not proper to use chat.
So those of you who cannot access the chat, how would you like this information to get to you?
Just for right now, somebody, I don't know about anybody else, but if somebody could send an email, I'd appreciate it. But I mean,
I can email you, Doris, but I don't have everybody else's email address, and I'm trying to talk about what's fair. So I'm just trying to make sure that if there's anybody else who can't access the chat who would like me to do something, they let me know right now, because we're 20 minutes over and I'm about to adjourn this meeting. Okay.
Okay, I'm on my phone.
Let me know.
I'm on my phone, so I would be interested.
Okay, Bonnie Ryan also.
Okay. What is the contact information of the folks that need need this sent to them in some way other than the chat. I have Doris's, but I need everybody else's.
Yes, Bonnie,
Okay.
Bonnie M. Ryan at gmail.com.
Is that M like in Mary or N like in Nancy?
I'm sorry, M as in Mary, BONNIEMRYAN at gmail.com.
Okay, so I'm sending it to Bonnie and Doris. Anybody else?
Yes,
Madam Chair,
Karen?
may I suggest that be sent out as the Arlington Star was, notice about this meeting was sent. Arlington Star sent it to all their customers.
Is that something staff can do or not?
Well,
That's why I'm asking staff if this is something they're capable of doing.
I am checking now. I don't know how quickly I can get that response to you, but I'm checking now.
Okay, I just figured since Star sent the meeting notice, they could just send another email with a link. That's all. I think it would be easy, but I don't have to do it. So that's my thought. Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman.
Yes, Ken, what do you need?
I just would posit what kind of proposal is offered in a public body where there's not a consumer survey prior to the proposal to gauge the needs and opportunities that the consumer has and wants.
I believe there is a survey. I do believe that some issues have been brought up with the methodology of it, and I agree with several of them, but it does exist. I don't think we can litigate exactly, what the survey should look like at the end of a meeting where we've already gone over. So does anybody else want to give me their email address, or should I just send it to those two email addresses?
I would like to give you mine. It's Karen, Karen, MELICK at earthlink.net.
Alrighty, so I will send out to those. I hope that I have them copied correctly, but I will get that sent out to you guys. And I really do need to go and get ready for the next meeting. So I hope to see those of you who are coming. And thank you everyone for coming out. And again, I'm sorry that we weren't able to resolve everything, but I don't think that we really could have, considering, the news that we got. So
Madam Chair,
for letting us know. Oh, go ahead.
Just quickly, the link to the Transit Advisory Committee is on the Transit Advisory Committee website. So the meeting agenda is there and the link to the meeting. So it's
the dial-in number.
The dial-in number is on there as well.
All right. Anybody else have any last comments? If not, Herschel, you good with me ending this meeting?
Here,
I may have already left.
Yes.
So if I don't hear from you, I'm leaving. So
Yes.
have a good evening, everybody.